Okay, guys, the one you've been waiting for. Politics, religion, and sex. My sainted mother, remember her? Saint Ruth of Deer Park, the princess of platitudes? Well, she always told me that I should never discuss politics, religion, or sex in polite company. Her point being that we should always avoid controversy, and these are very personal and sensitive subjects. But as much as I may have wanted to please my dear mother, as an art teacher and therefore a teacher of art history, I knew I could no more teach the history of art by avoiding these three topics than I could speak of the 1960s without mentioning sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Okay, let's start with politics first. My political discussion will begin a bit surreptitiously by reading brief, selected excerpts from Ben Shah's book, The Shape of Content. We're going to read from the chapter titled On Nonconformity. In this chapter, Shah mentions the word conservative, but instead of using the term liberal, even more controversial and deferential in the 1950s than today, he chose the term nonconformist. I am personally not offended by either term and prefer my students approach the subject with more objectivity than the impassioned contemporary enthusiasts on both sides of the political spectrum. In fact, the art world owes a great deal to the conservative, conformist, as well as the nonconformist, liberal. As Ben Shah states, the conservative is the guardian of our treasured past, our artistic traditions, without which the future, the realm of the nonconformist, would have no chance to flourish. The most progressive artist understands the necessity and importance of knowing and understanding the rules before being able to bend or break them. He continues, without the conservative, we would know little of the circumstances of past art. We would have lost most of the art itself. The conservative, with its vested interest in things as they are, holds on to the present, gives stability, and preserves established values, and keeps the banks open. And what of the nonconformist, the progressive, the liberal? He further states, the visionary, always able to see the configuration of the future in present things, presses for change, experiment, the venture into new ways. A truly creative artist is inevitably of this part of the society. He continues with, nonconformity is the basic precondition of art, as it is the precondition of good thinking and therefore of growth and greatness in a people. The degree of nonconformity present and tolerated in a society might be looked upon as a symptom of its state of health. He then adds, what is it about us, the public, and what is it about the conformity itself that causes us all to require it of our neighbors and of artists, and then with consummate fickleness to forget those who fall into line and eternally celebrate those who do not? I will continue with my own observations. Yes, in the world of art, the conservative and the liberal are partners in the preservation and creation of works of art. The wealthy conservative and progressive both see art as an intelligent and valuable investment worthy of preservation, as well as an object of desire, inspiration, and contemplation. Both also understand and appreciate the division of the arts into two categories derived from the Greek belief that intellectually and spiritually imposing works of art comprise the fine arts, while the applied arts are created for a useful purpose. Our affluent society is especially demanding of good design and composition, not just for what hangs on our walls, but almost everything man-made, from the box of laundry detergent, our clothing, cars, furniture, cell phones, beer cans, to political bumper stickers, internet ads, logos, shoes, architecture of all kinds. If the appearance of a thing helps to sell it, an artist/designer is hired to be its creator. Some of the most impressive, iconic, and well-known works of architecture were built by governments. Examples range from the Houses of Parliament, the Capitol in Washington, D.C., to the Palace at Versailles, the Pyramids of Egypt, and countless others. Okay. Religion. Well, it should come as no surprise to anyone the effect religion has had on the world of art. In spite of the second commandment and the fact that most major religions are iconoclastic, the exception, being the Roman Catholic Church, a majority find ways to incorporate visual imagery of some kind into their worship, whether it be decorative, symbolic, or illustrative in the form of architecture, interior design, vestments, and objects like chalices, even the calligraphy and or illustration of sacred texts like the Quran. Many of the greatest works of architecture are buildings created for the purpose of worship. One cannot ignore religion and study the history of art. Sex. That's right. Sex. Sir Kenneth Clark, in his book, The Nude, A Study in Ideal Form, explains in the first sentence of Chapter 1, The Naked and the Nude, the difference between the two terms. I highly recommend every student of the visual arts to read the entire lecture series in its book form. I certainly agree with his definitions, but for the sake of my classroom audience, I have always given a slightly different explanation. We owe the Greeks a great deal. Many, if not most, of the traditional components of Western civilization can be traced back to the Greeks. We have copied from them our form of government, architecture, sculpture, philosophy, mathematics, theater, and athletics. You could go for more. We maintain roughly the same idea of the difference between the fine and applied arts. As Sir Kenneth Clark informs us, they invented the idea of the nude as ideal form. I have seen and heard the words naked and nude defined the same. Someone without clothing. Well, this is correct, but not a complete definition. Each word has far greater implications than that simple statement of fact. For example, why do we call it a nudist colony instead of a naked colony? Why are the women in Playboy naked and the people modeling without clothing for artists nude? Well, there's a simple difference. The story of Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden give us the answer. Before tasting of the fruit of knowledge, they had no idea they were without clothing. You might say that clothing was inappropriate and normal in that situation, and therefore no shame was involved. Afterward, they became very aware of their lack of clothing and their new and uncomfortable experience of knowledge. Conversely, naked people and people who are observing naked people in certain kinds of situations, businesses, and publications are very aware of the lack of clothing.